Welcome everyone to a new Steel Division 2 video and the first one on my channel. So today I have for you a game between Colonel Koenig and Ghost Dragon in the September monthly tournament in the SDL Discord. The September monthly tournament is an interesting one because there is no tank tab allowed. This means you can bring any sort of tracked units, tanks, everything, in any tab except the tank tab. So recon tab is fine, support tab is fine, AT tab is fine, but you're not allowed to bring anything from the tank tab. This of course means that the meta changes quite a bit. Some divisions might actually be stronger, some might not. And you might see some interesting matchup and interesting new playstyles. What you generally from a lot of games that I saw, what people try to do is sort of work around that by picking divisions that have plenty of tanks and light armor in other tabs. But you might also both decide to go direct opposite, to just go for a really strong infantry division with less armored support. So definitely some interesting matchups here to be seen. September, in case you haven't known, was a really interesting month in general, because in the FOB HQ Discord you did have the classic division matchup, and in the Bootcamp Discord, you had in the intermediate tournament, there was the bad divisions tournament. It's not necessarily bad divisions, but you give your opponent divisions that he can choose from to play. So naturally, they're not going to be the best ones. And there were some interesting matchups there, and I will definitely cover from both these tournaments as well. But in this game, we do have Koenig playing 3rd US Armored on the left in the red, and we do have Ghost Dragon playing 9th Panzer in blue on the right hand side. Before we start with the game, let's quickly take a look at the decks, and then we head right into the action. And here we are with Koenig's deck of 3rd US Armored Spearhead. So recon tab, pretty standard, just some mates, some stewards, and then a recon coming in with the M20, which is basically a mate with only the 50 cal. Infantry, very light, which is what we have to expect from 3rd US, but it's definitely an odd choice for this setting, I guess, since I would assume that infantry is going to be a little bit more important. But what Koenig has plenty of our half tracks, and guess what is really annoying to deal with when you don't have a lot of armor around? It is half tracks. So I guess it kind of makes sense, because the half tracks can kind of supplement his infantry well enough, since there's just not that many tanks around that can kill them. And with that, he might be able to actually bully Ghost Dragon quite a bit. So I guess we just have to wait and see how this plays out. I guess if he can keep his infantry alive, this should work out really well. Support, we do see 2 cards of flamethrowers, one in A and one in B, and one coming in with even more half tracks. Definitely makes sense. Koenig doesn't really have that much CQC in his infantry tab, so he kind of needs to supplement that with some flamethrowers. Otherwise, some M8s, some support, Sherman's 50 cal leader commander, the usual. AT tab, M10s, M5, 1 gun, M5 gun, pretty standard, nothing to write home about there. And then AA, yeah, just standard thing what you have. Although double that on the Bofors, which is something that I've seen Koenig do quite a few times. Personally, I would not want to have only 2 Bofors, but if you can keep them alive, that's definitely going to be performing really well. Artillery-wise, we see a kind of Calliope in 1. Interesting. To me, this unit always feels rather bad, but I guess we're going to have to see what Koenig can do with it. Some mortars, artillery leader, M12, also not choice, because it comes with barely any ammo, so usually people just take the long tom, and then some off map, which kind of makes sense on this map. Airwise, light, but what is there is good. The P51s come in with massive bomb loadouts, and then we just have an F6, which is basically P51 reconversion with, I think, a little bit fewer 50 cals, but it still has some. Going over to Ghost Dragon, we see a pretty filled out recon tab with some SPW 2, 3, 4, which is, yeah, pretty much what we expected to see from him. Some Luxes, also nice and strong, and then some Panzer IVs. I guess these light armored vehicles are going to be, and the Panzer Lux are going to be really key to deal with Koenig's half tracks. So he should have the tools around to deal with that. Infantry-wise, we see a lot of CQC and not a lot of veterancy on his long-range infantry, but this kind of makes sense because you don't really need to have great long-range infantry to defeat those of 3rd US, because the infantry of 3rd US is really bad. What really makes them strong is the combination with the half tracks. And then CQC also really makes sense because Koenig just doesn't have that much CQC in his division available to him. So I think Ghost Dragon just is hoping to actually be able to push hard in the forest and win these fights and uh, get into good positions that way, which is definitely a smart thing to do. Support-wise, no commander, just a guerrilla, some ammunitions, and an MG42. Pretty standard there as well. A T-Tab, Panzerschrecks, definitely going to be needed. We do see the Panzerjäger 35R, which is just another very efficient tool to deal with the light armor from 30US. Some Martyrs, Pack 40 and Yak Panzer 4. Yak Panzer 4 is going to be really hard to kill for König. I think the M5 guns are pretty much, and the M10s. Okay, yeah, they're tools, but König relies on his units being able to hit these two APCR shots that they do have. Otherwise, the Yak Panzer is going to be pretty much a brick wall for König. Mobile wagon, definitely going to be needed. We've seen König's air tab. Artillery, pretty big as well. We do see the Beobachter, which is odd, but I guess it's not a bad choice, but you just often don't see it very often, I guess. I mean, there's a Pioneer first, so there should be some radio around, so I don't really need to be Beobachter, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. Otherwise, Mortis S18, which is not going to be that useful, but of course Ghost Dragon doesn't know that, but we have seen Koenig's artillery tab, so we know that the SK18 is not going to be able to do much, at least not if you use it for counter batch. Otherwise, it's still going to be fine. Hummel and then some off map as well. Again, good choice for this map. Air, just some recon, and then a Fokker Wolf with rockets, pretty light. I don't know what the other options are, but I guess 9th Panzer just doesn't have that much. Overall, solid build, and with that, let's go back to the map. And we are back here on Shadrin. The game is about to start, but we're quickly going to take a look at the deployments before we head right into the action. So on Koenig's side, we do see a larger push here down south, which is very typical. Usually on this map, you fight around this valley and then go from there. So that's not really surprising to see. We see some infantry in half tracks, some recon M8s with the leader actually, and then just some support weapons as well as a Calliope, which is definitely interesting to see. So far, I have not really felt like this is a great unit, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Definitely interesting to see though. Artillery at the start is not something to see often, and if you see it, it's always a kind of clutch or win kind of thing, right? Either it really helps you massively or it just fails spectacularly and you have invested a lot of points into not having achieved anything, which can really, really punish you. But of course, since you will probably bunch up in somewhere around this valley, this is a quite target-rich environment and it should be easy to get some good hits. So I definitely see the logic behind that. On the other side, we see a we don't want to have the plane in there because it messes up things a little bit. So we have a massive deployment by Ghost Dragon and lots of light armor to just try to blow out this flank completely, supported by some machine guns and then infantry to follow up and go for that hill. This is very, very classical push there. Both sides also bring recon planes right away and both do it down south where they expect the main action to take place. Then a little bit further north, König is going for this flag by pushing these two forests. Very typical deployment. Red usually beats blue side to that. Ghost Dragon does not respond with a strong force here though. It's only one card of one unit, sorry, of Panzergrenadier G43, which is not going to be able to do much, especially with the half tracks. So he's essentially giving up this flag, and I have to imagine that he knows that. In the town, he has a few more units, but still a rather defensive deployment. Nothing too aggressive, just some infantry and then some Panzerjäger to deal with any light armor that you find there. And then also very defensive deployment by König, and very light with just some infantry and then two half tracks to help cover the ground. And with that, I guess we will start the game and see where it is going. Definitely curious to see what König will do with that Calliope. So yeah, both players get this valuable recon. It's really like you cannot overstate how important recon is. Knowing what your opponent has, knowing where he goes, knowing where he's maybe concentrating his forces, where he's building up a next attack, is just so crucial. Let's see where König target is at. Oh, very cheeky. So he's trying to hit everything here on his transporter. Very cheesy. But of course, a very, very good play. It's just a little bit too short. Some of these units might get hit. Everything here is going to be fine. Flamethrower gets in. Interesting. units get unloaded, or maybe Ghost Dragon unloaded some of them manually. Yeah, this is just unlucky. Some of them would have actually made their way here, and now they're delayed, which means that Koenig gets some time to push for that hill, because Blue's like, and he can then fortify, right, or at least, you know, be in cover while Ghost Dragon has to move his walk his units up there, and they're just, yeah, I mean, they're out of cover, which means they're far easier to. Wow, okay, another burst, and it hits hard. Machine guns down, one SPW down. Or, no, yeah, okay, not down. I thought they would, yeah, there we go. Machine guns down. I think there was something else there, missed what it was. We're only left with Pack 40 and SPW, and the Pack 40 is actually fine. Just suppressed, but yeah, we see M8s coming in now. So if he can somehow manage to keep this suppressed, he will be able to just drive through, and there's nothing here to stop it. F6, in the meantime, shot down the recon plane from Ghost Dragon. F6 is armed. It's not a great loadout, but it's not. It's enough to kill a plane if you stay on the backside of it. Oh, and there he goes. Nice little strafing run, and that's going to keep the Pack 40 suppressed. And I mean, the half track can finish it off as well. Ghost Dragon is getting in there, but he has his Panzerjäger fighting two M8s, and I think he's suffering from hill pressure. It is, or it was at least. Panzerschreck is in, but is it getting shot at? No, not sure. Pioneer bullied by some infantry. Yeah, half track here and M8s are suppressing the infantry that tried to go to this side of the wood to actually stay out of line of sight of these two M8s, but unfortunately it didn't help because there were more M8s right ready on the other side to go. Panzerjäger against two M8s, not going to be able to do much. Yeah, it's going to kill one. I mean, if the M8 keeps driving through, it's... Never mind. There he goes. Did that one kill it, or did someone else kill it? I'm not actually sure. But yeah, this thing, I'm surprised, I have to admit. I didn't know that I can shoot that many times. Or maybe, I mean, Koenig is a very good player, so he probably just stopped it, like the barrage, to then shoot a second time. That's something I could very much imagine. There's a little salient here, but it's going to collapse eventually. P51 in now with a big bomb load. This is going to hurt a lot. Yeah, did some damage. Was not right on spot, so did not do as much as it could. But still. And I mean, there's no AA here on Ghost Dragon's side, so he can do what he wants. Pack 40, together with an SPW, should take easily care of these M8s, but the Pack 40 is actually desperately needed to fight this off. And I mean, Koenig can just drive right next to it, essentially. He can go like right here. And at that range, the infantry can take care of it. The half tracks can do it. Panzer 4 in now. It's going to be able to... I mean, this can cover this off well. There's nothing here right now that can actually contest this Panzer 4 at this range. Up here, Koenig moving forward with a half track, grabbing this flag, because there's nothing here on Ghost Dragon's side that can actually kill that half track. At least not yet. I think the SPW is moving in. Not quite, actually. M10 in now. This can definitely kill the Panzer 4. In the town, not much happening. Showing Pioneer one against the flamethrower here, but it looks like everything is just sitting there for now. What else do we see? Yeah, Ghost Dragon's push here was completely dismantled. I mean, this was to be expected, right? As soon as everything was suppressed by light armor and half tracks, it was basically game over for that push. Ghost Dragon's still on a 13-11 though, so he only has lost this flag here, but no, he has lost these two, but he has won that one in the town. That's what's happening. Oh, Ghost Dragon has to be careful here, because the armed rifles can very much kill the Panzerjäger. They do have a bazooka. More armed rifles coming in, together with an M8 Scott. This is definitely going to be annoying to deal with for Ghost Dragon's infantry. Some more infantry coming in to just try and secure this flag. Definitely a good idea. Mobile one coming in. Yeah, you need some AA. Otherwise, Koenig's Air Force is just going to bully him. It's not that big as we've seen. And if you know the division, you know that it's probably not going to be a massive air spam, but you know that what is in there is actually very dangerous and can be very frightening at times. Now we see a little push here by Koenig. Armed rifles, LMG. I mean, to 2 Brownings are actually not that bad, but it should still lose against the Panzer Grenadier. Engineer, on the other hand, is a little pioneer unit, and with TNT, and that one can very easily take care of the Panzer Grenadier there. So unfortunate for Ghost Dragon that one got in there. But I mean, he's essentially lost the hill anyway. It doesn't, it's, this Panzer Grenadier is only delaying the inevitable, really, is what's happening. Guerrilla here. Yeah, it can't really do much from here. Maybe at this position it can do a little bit to support a push into this position here, but it's just a little bit, like most of the places are just a little bit short of for the hill to be in range. It's just a little bit over 2k. Panzerjäger fighting, I don't know what's targeting. On rifles here, yeah, Ghost Rider needs to be careful with the Panzerjäger. He can't move too far forward because then he gets into range of the bazooka from the armed rifles. And yeah, so far they're just out of line of sight. But if they move a little bit forward, they're getting very dangerously close. And then the bazooka can also see it. So very dangerous there. He has to be really careful with his mag grip. It's definitely doable. You just need to make sure that your infantry is always a little bit further towards the enemy and far enough that you know that there's nothing in range that can really kill you armored units, and you have to maintain it that way. But it sounds easier than it is. It sometimes can actually be really rough because it's also very easy for infantry to just get under fire and suppress before it can actually get into the next position that you need it for your Panzerjäger to actually peek what's shooting at your infantry, right? So it's always that easy. Panzerjäger here, finding a nice little angle on what? Calliope? No, Calliope is shooting at the MG42. Now if recon in the towns, it looks like Colonel is considering pushing there, or at least he wants to know what's going on there, because Ghost Dragon is applying some pressure there. But as we've talked about, the town is not the best parts to, you know, get your flag lead, and we can see that easily, right? Koenig has gotten these two flags, sorry, the one on the hill was always his. And Ghost Dragon has really only gotten the one here in the town, and this one is hard to grab. It's also easy to support on the red side from this hill. You can get reinforcements into here more easily. You can push out on blue side here to try and stop that, but then you can just set up defenses in these little light forest areas there on red side, so it's not that easy. P51 in, going after the Panzer Grenadier, killing it off. Great job there. So the Panzerjäger can't really move forward now, because otherwise, you know, you never know where the bazookas is, and everyone who knows what third armor looks like knows that there's a crap ton of bazookas. So you have to be really careful where you put your units. And there's something that people, I think, tend to underestimate when they're playing these divisions, is that the mental part of this, you have to sort of, like, you know that there's a lot of bazookas, so you have to basically assume that everywhere where an enemy unit is, or an infantry unit is, that you don't know what it is, there could be a bazooka. So you have to treat the situation as if it was guaranteed to be a bazooka there, because if you don't and there is, you might lose a very expensive tank. So it actually limits your playstyle quite a lot. Now you don't notice this if you have the bazooka unit, because you know that the bazooka unit is there or it isn't, and then so you know that, you know, your opponent can in principle push you there, or he cannot push you there with armor. But your opponent, if he doesn't know, has to assume that he cannot push you in either place, as long as he has not clear confirmation that the unit that's there does not have bazookas, right? So it's just a little part of the game that sometimes gets forgotten by some players. Players definitely tend to know that. And I mean, you don't actively need to do anything about that. It's just a factor that has a massive impact that you should not neglect. And 10 spotted something, lost line of sight. Infantry getting in a little bit too close. Oh, Stone Pioneer in the last act of bravery threw down smoke so that the Kosakan Pioneer and the Pioneer can get in. Problem is, these can easily kill the armored, I don't know which one is armored rifles the LMG rifles at least, but they cannot really deal with the M10 too effectively. I mean, eventually a TNT unit will be able to destroy a tank. It's just not gonna be that easy. It's gonna take more than one hit. Oh, Ghost Dragon got it back to a 12-12 with what did he grab? Oh, he grabbed that practice flag with the Pioneer, so this is great. Now he just needs to hold it. Flamethrower is coming in though, so that's unfortunate. I mean, the thing with flamethrowers is they don't have that much health, but they do have enough to be really annoying. And if I mean, you could just spam them, and so that way they can be able to deal with these pioneers. And we do have to remember the rock paper scissors kind of thing with the CQC unit, right? The pioneers should lose. Now, if you have the time to micro it well, you can actually ground attack with the pioneer unit, and then it will not move when the flame hits it, because otherwise it will be force move and it cannot throw the TNT. But for this to do, you need to be very, you need to paying a lot of attention on your pioneer units to be able to pull that off successfully and keep your units alive. And if there's a lot going on the map, this is a lot to ask for, to have that kind of attention and awareness to constantly micro your pioneers that way. I've definitely been in a situation myself many times where I had planned on doing that. The pioneers were there, I had to pay attention somewhere else, and when I was going back, the pioneers were already dead. So this is one of the things that you have to be careful about when you try to go for this stuff. Little armor blob here, but not doing much. I guess because Ghost Dragon has probably spotted the M5 gun and knows that he cannot really. Yeah, look, Panzer IV has definitely spotted it. So I guess he has to know that it's not really going to win that fight. Ghost Dragon now pushing forward himself though, only with an M8 and the Calliope supported by the M5, but still, it's not a lot of pushing power. And the Calliope, oh, actually has 110 millimeters of armor, so not too bad. But still, I would have been a little bit more afraid to bring this in here. I mean, this is a valuable tool. It has helped him quite a bit, and it's not out of ammo yet, so I would be too afraid to bring that in such aggressively. But it looks like it's paying out for Koenig so far. Now we see the push with the flamethrowers. There's a Sturm Pioneer here that can deal with that, so that's definitely great. Panzergrenadier with the G43 is gonna be able to support a little bit. Panzerschreck is ready here, but yeah, this is one of the annoying parts. You have to be at the back side of these forests if you don't want to get shot by whatever's on the other side. P51 coming in, going after just a blob here. It's gonna hurt, might even kill the Panzerschreck. Yeah, it kills the Panzerschreck, and this is gonna be a massive issue because the Panzer IV has to be careful because of the bazookas. And without its infantry support, it can definitely not stick around here. The Panzerschreck could have done something about the M10 and some of the half tracks, but of course now it's gone. So there's that. Mobile wagon is here, but unfortunately it's too close to the hill. You kind of need, so AA needs to have line of sight too onto the planes, and if you right behind the hill, you can basically look up, but you can't really, you don't have a flat angle where you can see the plane from a long distance already. So like if you look at it right now, ooh, this is basically, this is our field of view, right? Can we get out of the trees? Yeah. But this is our field of view, so if a plane comes, we see it rather late. If you further back, we will start to see the plane much earlier, and we can start shooting it much earlier, which should mean that it's easier to suppress it in time and fight it off before it can drop the bombs. But yeah, with the mobile bomb being so close to the hill, yeah, it's just going to be far too late. Pack 40 is sitting in a weird spot, but I guess it can cover off this hill. I've never actually put it there, but it's a good thing to remember if you ever get pushed from here, that there's a spot here where you're relatively safe from this hill part, and you can actually cover that part up there. So now we see off map coming in from Ghost Dragon's side. This is it's gonna be a good hit. I don't know how good this off map is. Never used it myself, so curious to see. But he's not really following it up, and I can't imagine that's going to be able to kill everything in here. So I feel like it's rather wasted. Like the thing with off-map is it's a great tool because it allows you to push in afterwards. It's not the greatest tool if you just want stuff killed. So he doesn't look to me like he's going to get a lot of value out of it. You see some stewards and an M12 in. So artillery is there. M5 gun being resupplied, right? It only has 2 shots of APCR, so you kind of need to have supplies ready to go there all the time, which is a little bit annoying. But you know, if you're doing this well, this thing is an absolute unit and can do so much damage. Same goes for M10s really. In the town, yeah, Ghost Dragon hasn't really been able to secure this flag here at all. There's actually strong defenses here now on Koenig's side. And with all the light armor, it's going to be really difficult for Ghost Dragon to do anything here. I mean, it's impressive for sure to see how Koenig really dominates the field with not that much infantry, really. I mean, as we've seen, he's really light in the infantry department, but the half tracks and the M8s and M20s and whatnot are just doing a fantastic job of supporting the few infantry units he has, and yeah, allowing him to maintain control over this whole part of the map here and doing well in the town still. I mean, he's lost that flag, but still on a 13-11, and we are... Oh, there comes another Calliope push. Not so devastating this time. I guess it's also the distance, right? The further away, the bigger the spread, so the less damage you generally do to one single unit. Hasn't killed anything, but he definitely has done some damage. Let's look at the tanks. Maybe still looks somewhat fine. If we're actually this one too, so it hasn't really damaged the vehicles too much. But infantry is definitely very suppressed. Now we see a push from Koenig. He has been gathering forces here, and now we see the push coming in. Jagdpanzer gets the driver killed, which is very unlucky. It would need to turn, which it can't. That's definitely a problem. The Panzer III here is doing a good job at stopping the half tracks here, and then everything here is just gonna get shot at by these few tanks. But the commander goes down, so this is big. This definitely would have been... I mean, it's not the most precious unit here in terms of its firepower, but I mean, it's still a commander, it's not cheap, so that's a good trade there. And it's not like Koenig has a lot of Shermans, so it's one of the few ones that he has going down. Mate goes down. P-51's in though, gonna hurt a lot. There we go. I mean, yeah, these bomb loadouts are massive. And remember, HE can absolutely kill tanks. It usually takes a bit more than a hit. So I guess the Calliope must have damaged it. I can't imagine it dies that easily to 1P-51, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the bomb loadout, once again, is quite large on these things. So definitely possible. Off-map did go down, forced Koenig to retreat, but unfortunately, once again, there's nothing here to follow up on Ghost Dragon's side, and there's still an armor blob here on the hill. We do see an M5 gun getting in position too, and that can kind of start pressuring this road, which would be absolutely devastating for Ghost Dragon. Panzer IV in here, and this one can also be seen by the M5 and is also very killable. Engineer forces off the Sturmpioneer, I think. Did he do the ground attack thing? I have to imagine he did. Marder picking on some infantry. Oh, there we go. First pan on the Panzer IV by the M5, and M5 is reloading really fast. Boom, there we go. Panzer IV down. Yeah, that's very unlucky. Mortar here. Starting to get involved, trying to find a shot on the M5. I think it's not, yeah, it's not in radio range, so it's not going to be very accurate. And the M5's on the move. It looks like it's moving right into it, but it will move out again, so... And with how big the spread is, I think it's gonna get away, probably. Yeah, looks like it is. I mean, there's always a lucky hit, but... or there can always be one, doesn't need to be. But, yeah, it just isn't enough. Another P-51 in. This one is a little bit lighter, but, I mean, lighter, still decently heavy. 2 113 kilogram bombs, which deal 6 damage. That's gonna hurt. Not if he misses, but still suppress the Panzer Grenadier. I mean, that's really all that Koenig needs now. He can just surrender with the Engineer. So, not that big of a deal. One single Panzer Grenadier pushing in here. It's not going to be enough because... Yeah, because there was no direct follow-up after the off-map. Koenig has had plenty of time to move back in, and is now in the forest again, and the Panzer Grenadier won't really stand a chance there. In the town, we now see an off-map by Koenig, returning the favor and trying to re-grab his flag here, it looks like. I mean, yeah, this is one thing. So if you don't like off map, like I do, um, it's something that it's just unlucky about this map because there are like you're really just bunched up in a few spots, like on this hill, in this forest part, and then sometimes in that one, and in either one of those two, and then the town. And it's usually not hard to see where in the town most units are. So you have a lot of places where, or not that many, you have a few places where everything's bunched up, which is just a great target for off map, and it's just really, really annoying to deal with on this map. So this is the part of this map that I really, really don't like. If you play against someone who doesn't have off map, I don't mind. But yeah, not my favorite thing about this map. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the map, there's not that much blue, a lot of red here. So, I mean, we can see that Koenig's definitely outtraining Ghost Dragon there. 1311, quickly switch to 1410, we're back to 1311 now. And I mean, this is all that Koenig needs, right? We have a mirror income here. So as long as Koenig can keep that single tick, that's going to be enough. Of course, having a larger flag lead is always nice, but you know, you will on a mirror income. It's really important that you. I mean, it's always important to trade well, but it's important to get some small trades that slowly add up and just keep the pressure. Just keep the pressure up, and if that means that you only have that one flag advantage, that's perfectly fine as long as you're going to be able to maintain that. And then it's always great to. I mean, you always have to apply some more pressure. I've had this discussion lately with after another game with one of the top players that easily beat me. But yeah, you always have to, you always have to find somewhere to push. You cannot really just sit back and relax because what's going to happen then is that your opponent can fully dictate what's going to happen on the map, and your role is one of just purely reacting, and you never really want that. You always want to be on in the offensive somewhere, so that you can sort of dictate what's going to happen, and can try to force some situations that are beneficial for you, but maybe not for your opponent. M12 now going after, don't know what it targeted, the mortar, the mobile wagon. One of these were there, at least. They're on the move now. Remember, guys, if you have mobile artillery, and AA especially also as well, if your opponent tries to use his planes, you kind of have to keep them moving. And especially, as I've said, if it's mobile, even more, because it's the one thing that is really, really strong about it, right? You have artillery that is meant to be mobile. It's meant to be moving. Um, with tube like regular tube artillery, it's a little bit harder, and it's not always worth it to really do that because it's quite micro intensive. But it's definitely something you should do with your half track mortars and such, or with the M12. And mobile wagon as well, right? You have mobile AA. Why not move it? Because it will likely be targeted because your opponent wants it dead, right? Yeah, Panzer in the town, not really much that can deal with that, other than the M5 gun, of course. Although, let's quickly double check. AP should not be able to kill that. The APCR is what's really needed here, and there's no resupply seen here. We see a mortar half track in on Koenig's side as well. Interesting to see where this one's going. I feel like since he called in the M12, this is probably the tool that he rather wants to use, but I guess there's a use for that mortar as well. You see another wave here by Ghost Dragon, but I think at this point he should just give up on the hill. I mean, Koenig has just fortified really well here. I'm not sure if there's much that Ghost Dragon can realistically achieve, at least not without any air support or artillery support, right? He needs to start suppressing things up here, killing some maybe even, and then he can start moving in. Calliope firing its last few shots. I don't know if something died here so far. There's just a suppressed recon unit, and the Marder might have been a little bit damaged. Looks fine actually. So, I mean, it's very much suppressed, but it doesn't look too damaged. And Pack 40 coming in now. Yeah, he definitely needs something that can fight off these tanks. He doesn't really want to rely on that, especially since all of these units are very well accustomed to killing that mod. Although there is a Sherman 105 in, which is of course great against spec 40, so I'm not sure if this is going to be enough. Units pushing up here. Spotting the units on the hill. We see some smoke coming down, which is a very good heads-up play. I don't know from what, actually. These don't have smoke. None of these have smoke. What did we... maybe had some flamer unit here, like Sturmpioneer or something that threw down smoke and then died. Jagdpanzer. I don't know what it spots. The M5 gun that just killed what was that, a Grillet, I think? Now we see a P-51 rush. Bailed out on the Panzer IV. Ooh, that's unlucky. So this is going to be effectively useless, but it's going to be a bullet sponge for a bit, so at least that. Panzer Grenadiers, yeah, got hit by the P-51s, although not too... No, actually, yeah, these two are quite low on health. The other one's actually fine. Just a little bit of suppression added, but that's already enough. I mean, it's back to 12-12 for Ghost Dragon, which is impressive to see, given how fast and easily Koenig initially broke Ghost Dragon's line here. He has done a good job at working himself back, but the problem is that he's still in no good spot at all. Like, this whole central part of the map is still very much under Koenig's control, even though Ghost Dragon is trying hard to find a way back in. And the other issue is, of course, time pass, right? We're at 27 minutes, so there is a little bit more than half of the game time is already over, and the income of both players is now throttled since 7 minutes actually already, right? Since we are in C phase. And at that time point, it just is much harder to get some huge plays. And of course, it really matters what's still on the battlefield. And there's just much more from Koenig at the moment. And it's not helpful for Ghost Dragon either that Koenig is in a better position currently, because he has to push somewhere back in, which is usually a bit more resource intensive. And then of course the last thing is that it's just easy to get better trades if you are outnumbering your opponent, and this is what's currently the case. And then we cannot really forget the huge air force, not huge, but the dangerous air force that Koenig has built up there. There's some AA, but unfortunately it hasn't really done enough yet. And the AA isn't cheap either. So considering that it hasn't really stopped much, it has not been very cost effective for now. And there we go. Ghost Dragon surrenders after just close to 29 minutes. Great game to both players. Definitely interesting to watch. Stat-wise, about 400 points difference in trades. So it felt like more when watching it, but I guess it's just due to different costs of units and such. But definitely closer than I thought. And I mean, Ghost Dragon did do well, but he was just at the back foot right off the start, which is really hard to recover from on this map, especially if you lose in that very important valley down south. Let's quickly look at the kills to see how units performed, and I mean we can see the Calliope, like this thing, wow, the amount of value that this killed. I mean, this has easily paid itself off, and it's not just the units that it killed, but I mean, it broke down the whole push from Ghost Dragon, essentially. So by that, it also allowed for Koenig to push in and to get some more good trades. So this thing was massive. I mean, we've seen that, but wow, I have not expected it to be that dangerous. Very, very impressive. P-51 did a great lot of damage to some of the infantry as well. And I mean, you can see here that there's just a lot of units that did okay. They killed a little bit more than itself in worth in points. So you have all the small traits that just add up to some really good traits, and then you have a few units that perform really well. On the other side, it looks similar though, like the SPWs at the start. I mean, that goes without if the Calliope wouldn't have been there, Ghost Dragon would have been overrunning König there. It wasn't a very nice push, but it was just unlucky that everything was stuck together and then hit by the Calliope. Then yeah, we see some armored units here doing very well as well. I mean, it's not like Ghost Dragon has had bad traits. He's done some good traits too. It's just a little bit worse than what König had, and that's what can make the difference in the end. So yeah, great game to both players. If you liked the video, do let me know. If you have wishes, comments, um, suggestions for improvement, please do let me know in the comments. I will gladly take a look and see what I can do with that feedback. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day and see you all in the next one.